And class update in Suzuki, it's the Lauda Suzuki and the Ryan Collinson Suzuki, and this is a battle for position on track that we're watching right now.
And it's a good battle, isn't it? But what these guys have got to keep off is that they get so caught up in their own battle that they forget to look behind them. When we know the difference in speed, the race is getting on, and we saw a photo before, actually one of the camera shots, of all the marbles or all the debris. We can actually see it in some other parts. That becomes a key part of this race, because if you place the car a little bit off the apex or the natural racing line, you get caught up in the marbles, and it's essentially hitting ice when you're driving in a normal road car. It can just shoot you off the track because you lose traction. When you get back on the track again, those marbles stick to the tyres, and sometimes it can take 1 or 2 laps for them to go away. So, look, this could be another part or another factor of the race that could be thrown in there that could catch some of these guys out unexpectedly.
So there's the Bagnall-Pedersen 997 just working their way through some of the lap traffic. Just up ahead of the Billington Evo was the bright green car driven by John DeVeth and Philip Gill. Now they're running 4th overall, and in 5th is the Shorten Walden Evo. So the Evo, a pretty good weapon to have for this type of endurance race.
Four-wheel drive always will be, and of course once we get longer in the day and the sun gets down and the track temperature goes away, those four-wheel drives will start coming into their own.
So there's the second place, Dippy, Madron, Wanaka, Lone Star 997. They've got about 7 or 8 laps now to make up on the Carter Falcon. And just looking at their lap times, Mark, they have backed off the pace. They're sort of down in that 110, 111 range from their 105 setting pace earlier on.
Yeah, they probably burnt the car up in the first couple of hours, and that's what they had to do to get 7 or 8 laps. It's going to take an awful lot of problems for this car, an awful lot of good luck for the other guys for them to lose 7 laps. So they could probably afford to lose 15 or 20 seconds a lap and still maintain that first place. But as I said before, the minute you do that, you introduce other issues into the program that you don't need.
So marching on towards probable victory, but there's still a few laps left to run here at Hampton Downs for the Carters Ford. Both brothers have a background in karting as youngsters. I think Matt might have done some Nissan Sentra racing, but between that and now, not an awful lot. They've got the race lead for the Altherm 1000. Don't go away, we'll be back on the other side with this, with the conclusion from Hampton Downs. It all comes down to the final hour. The Carters continue to lead from the Dippy Madron Porsche, the Billington Parker Evo, DeVeth, Cunningham storming their way back up into the top 6, and the Bagnall-Pedersen car also back into the top 10. They are storming back through this field with the conclusion not too far away for the Altherm 1000. Here's our production class leaders, Grant Aiken and Grant Liston in the garageclub.co.nz Evo. And there's the race leaders just in behind. So Mark, this has been an entertaining race, and hopefully something to look forward to in the future with the New Zealand Motorsport Championship putting their name to an endurance race again, because it's been a long time since the Liquor King 500.
Yeah, it was, and a couple of famous characters won that too, by the way, Jamie.
You wouldn't be referring to yourself, would you? How far back was that though, mate?
I don't know, I can't remember. My memory's not that good. I've got enough problems remembering my EFTPOS card half the time, but hey, look, this is a magnificent thing that TMC have done, Motorsport New Zealand, and of course Altherm coming on board. Endurance racing is actually the purest. It's like test cricket. It's what the people love to come and see. It brings out the true element in team sport. Sprint racing, it's really down to the driver at the end of the day, because you're racing for 8, 10, maybe 12 laps. Here you're racing for 4 hours, so it involves fuel strategy, it involves pit stops. So it gets all the boys from the teams that don't normally have a great deal to do during the races. They get involved, and that's what it's all about as far as I'm concerned.
Well, the Aiken Liston car doing a very, very good job leading production up inside the top 10. There's our second place car, Alan Dippy and Mark Madron in the Lone Star 996, and right now, Mark, they've got 9 laps to try and make up on the Carter Ford.
Yeah, and given this stage of the race, it's a tall order to try to make up that much time. So, look, when you're faced with that much deficit, you've got to decide, right, let's just concede the second place. Second place is a damn sight better than third. So let's just go for it and hope that something unforeseen happens to the car in front.
And after their delays, the Pedersen Bagnall 997 back up inside the top 10, and they're picking off some of the cars up in front of them. I mean, it's been the end of a long day. Things are really starting to battle out there on the race cars, and probably the drivers themselves, because it's a long time behind the wheel.
It is, and that's one thing that they don't have, of course, during these sprint series, is because you're only in the car for 15 or 20 minutes at a time. The fitness is important, but it's not critical. But here, it becomes such a key factor because you've got to keep your concentration levels up, and the way you do that is by keeping yourself rehydrated all the time. And one thing you'll notice about all these modern-day racing cars is you'll see that all the windows are normally right up, the Skeets car's down a little bit, but not down by much. So the drivers have to make sure they do all their conditioning training before they get in, because these cars are 40 and 50 degrees, and actually that was one of the top 5 cars.
Well, top 3 cars. That is the Billington Parker Evo, number 7, the Continental Tyres Evo, and they have stopped out on track within sight of the finish line.
Interesting as well, Jamie, left-hand side of the car again.
So the left rear wheel looked like it had parted company with that car. Well, that's devastating after such a fantastic performance. So that's going to move some of the positions around.
Now, well, let's bring out a safety car. That's the key, because there's not much time to go. No,
Yeah.
look, see the top and left-hand corner, the little bridge where the 2 guys are standing? That's the officials of the meeting. No activity there at all, so they're going to keep this race green.
Well, on the 4-hour mark, they will bring out the last lap board, certainly for the race leaders, the Carter V8 Ford Supercar.
Now, this is another battle to watch here. These are the Cunningham brothers. We saw that car have a bit of problems earlier in the race, but it is carving the field up like hot knife through butter. It's 10, 15 seconds a lap quicker than most of the cars in front. This is a car that we spoke to Roger about, could actually get back into the top 3.
Well, they've just worked their way past the short Walden Altherm Evo, so that's a pass for 4th. Now, this car, now 3rd with this pit stop, is going to probably lose a spot to the Cunninghams, who may get back up into that 3rd spot. And Rog called it earlier, but they haven't had any safety cars, so they've done a fantastic job.
Yeah, the safety car can work for you and work against you, but here we go. This is the 2nd place car.
Yeah, 2nd place car, maybe just
Now-
a splash and dash.
Okay, open up the hood on the thing. Okay, in goes the fuel. You're right, Jamie, nothing more than that. Probably just more of a safety precaution, because one thing about the Porsches, unlike the other cars, is that when these cars get low on fuel, it gives you one cough, game over for you. As with the V8 we're looking at here in the supercar, if it gives a cough, you just flick it over to a reserve tank that has another 5 or 6 litres on, so you can have the luxury of getting back. So the guys in the Porsche team said, well, hey guys, we're getting borderline, let's not take a chance, let's bring it in.
Well, the podium is changing every lap with the demise of the number 7, John Billington Evo. We've got the Carter Falcon leading from the Diffie Madron 996. The Cunninghams now back up into 3rd in the 997. Vethengill 4th, Shorten Walden 5th, and Andrew Bagnall and Ant Pedersen working their way back up into the top 6. So some pretty storming performances towards the end of this 4-hour enduro.
And that's one thing about the Porsches, is that you can do a 1 minute 6 lap time on lap 1. You can also do the same thing 4 hours later, because the cars are built for that kind of racing. So as the other cars are slowing down to maybe conserve fuel, or are getting in a little bit of problem with tyres and brakes, these cars will just keep forging ahead lap after lap.
Well, the race leaders also set the fastest lap of the race, as the last lap board is now out for the Carter's Falcon. A 1:05.960 set back in lap number 57, so between hours 1 and 2. But the headlights are on, a little bit of lap traffic to negotiate. The inaugural winners of the Altherm 1000, with just a handful of corners left to go, will be the Carters in the Carter's Tyres Ford Falcon.
And these boys will be counting every corner down. There'll be so many noises going through this car that they haven't heard for the last 2 laps. Is this going to happen? Is that going to happen? What a tremendous effort. Look, the Porsches at the end of the day were favourites. Giant killing cars designed to do it. They started from pit lane. They didn't do any qualifying. They've circulated, or the other cars fell by the wayside, and unless something unforeseen happens in the next corner, it's theirs.
One more corner left to go. They've just gone past the Wadsworth Commodore that actually started about a half an hour into the race after an off in the 2nd qualifying session, so they've been up against it, but they're going to get a race finish. Out of turn number 6, the final lap, the 4-hour mark has been exceeded, and on lap 203, Matt Carter will bring home the Carter's V8 Supercar Ford across the line for the win in the Altherm 1000. Well, an amazing effort. I'm sure the team will be celebrating in pit lane as the rest of the cars go across the finish line. There is the Carter's team, just offering each other congratulations. They take out the victory in the Altherm 1000. From the Diffie Madron Porsche 996, they win their class. The Cunninghams fought their way back to 3rd ahead of the Vethengill Evo, the Short Walden Evo, and the Bagnall Pedersen Porsche. Those not having such a great run. Further down the field, the Lourdes taking out the Suzuki class and finishing 14th overall.